So today in this session we will be dealing with an experiment, load test on three-phase induction motor. Okay. So the circuit diagram is visible on the screen. Okay. So I will not be drawing the exact circuit diagram that is there on the screen. Just to understand the concept, I will draw the circuit diagram. I will not be drawing the auto transformer and all those things. Okay. Because there are some concepts which we need to observe in this experiment. It is not only about the giving the load, observing the readings and then calculations. That is very easy. This experiment is very easy. But along with those calculations and all, I would like to tell you few more observations that we can do in this experiment. Okay, with respect to the readings, especially with respect to the readings. So only to help me those concepts, I will be drawing the abstract circuit diagram for the load test. Okay, so load test on three-phase induction motor. Entire screen is visible. Yeah. Okay. So load test on three-phase induction motor. So the three-phase induction motor, I will be conducting the load test on three-phase induction motor on the squirrel cage motor. Okay, and the circuit notation of squirrel cage motor is like this. I will be showing a rotor, a cage rotor. Okay, with a stator winding. Okay. Connected in delta. Generally, the stator winding of squirrel cage induction motor is connected in delta. Usually, we start squirrel cage induction motor using star delta starter. Okay, so the delta, the stator winding is connected using the delta formation of the three-phase circuit, and I will be giving the three-phase supply from the auto transformer. I will draw a very small, not auto transformer not required. Okay. There is a starter in our lab setup. Okay, we have a starter. Please excuse me for the background noise of my kids. It is inevitable in my house and uncontrollable. Okay. So I have two wattmeters connected. Yeah, some of you have conducted this experiment, some you have to conduct. So I have taken this, and this is a three-phase switch, TPST switch. There is a slight difference in the circuit diagram, what it is observed there, what it is available there, and what I am showing you here. Okay, so I have an ammeter here, 0 to 5 amperes, because the current rating of the motor is 4.8 amperes. So 0 to 5 amperes current ammeter is sufficient. In the circuit diagram it is shown 10 amperes. Okay, it's fine, no issues. W1, W2. The range of wattmeters is 600 volt, 10 amperes, or generally we use 5 amperes. We don't want 10 amperes because current rating is 4.8 UPF. Okay, same 600 volts, 5 amperes, UPF. Okay, this is what I need. But in my setup in the college, the wattmeters are mounted directly on the panel board, and this is the range of wattmeter what we have chosen there. Okay, so always wattmeters must be denoted along with their voltage, current and power factor. There are two types of wattmeters, you know already, low power factor wattmeters and unity power factor wattmeters. For load test we use UPFs and for no load test we use LPFs. Okay. So this is starter. Star delta starter. This is a three-phase stator winding and the rotor is squirrel cage. Okay, and to this I will be connecting the brake drum. We will be doing the load test, so therefore I will be using the mechanical load, the brake drum arrangement, and we have two spring balances. Let this be F1, F2. Okay. So this is our arrangement for conduction of this experiment. Okay. And I use a voltmeter, is 0 to 600 volts. This is W1, this is W2. Okay. So this is the circuit setup, circuit connections. And we start the motor after doing the connections properly. So the procedure is, connections are made as per the circuit diagram. Okay. Switch on the supply, keeping, I thought of my comfort. Switch on the supply, keeping the motor at no load. So please remember that at initial state the load on the motor should be 0. What happens is, even if there is considerable amount of load at start, then the motor will refuse to rotate, which is potentially the short circuit condition on the secondary side. It is as good as short circuit on the secondary side. If this persists for very long time, and if I give complete supply voltage, and here I have 450 volts, 50 hertz, 3-phase supply. Okay. 450 volts, 50 hertz, 3-phase supply. Okay. So if I give full 450 volts and if the rotor is blocked, what happens is, if I connect some load to it, the motor will refuse to start and it is a blocked rotor condition. I hope yesterday the block rotor condition of that induction motor is been covered in the motors class. Okay. So when the rotor is blocked, what happens? It is a short circuit. It is as good as exactly the secondary is short circuited. Okay, exactly the secondary is short circuited. In that case, if I supply this full voltage, the current in the stator will be tremendously high. It is 4.8 amperes current rating, and if I see the current at full voltage, that is ISN, okay, short circuit current at normal voltage, it will be not even 5 to 6 times, it is around 20 to 30 times larger than the load current, which will damage the stator winding immediately. Within no time my stator will get damaged. So therefore, whenever we do load test, we should be utter careful that the load on the motor initially should be 0. Okay. Only after ensuring this, we need to go into the load test. Okay. So then, after switching on the supply, start the motor using star delta starter. Okay. In our college, we have a starter. For this experiment, we don't use the auto transformer starter, we use star delta starter. Okay, that is the reason why the stator of the squirrel cage motor is connected in delta. Initially, the starter will be in such an arrangement. Okay, so you can see here in star delta starter, it is not exactly connected in a delta always. All the 6 terminals are open. Generally, all the 6 terminals are open for the connection. All the 6 terminals are open for the connection. Okay. So this open connections will connect to the star delta starter. Initially, the motor will be started in star fashion, with the stator winding star connected. Okay. So why star connected? In star, What is phase voltage? VL by root 3. So initially the voltage applied is 415 by root 3. So this is equals to 239.6 volts. The voltage applied is 239.6 volts. Okay. So initially why the voltage has to be reduced is, we know that in the last lab session I explained that whichever may be the type of motor, it will take large amount of current at start, because it has to overcome the inertia and it has to satisfy for the starting torque. So to get the large starting torque, motor will draw large current from the source, and if that large current persists for a long time, then there will be excessive copper loss and deterioration of the insulation. So that should not happen. So therefore what I do, initially I connect the stator winding in star fashion, so that the voltage drawn from the source is at root 3 times lesser rate when compared to the full voltage. Then when the speed is achieved up to 50 to 60% of the rated value, then there will be a switch, internal switch in the starter, which will automatically connect the stator connection into delta. So that is the work of star delta starter. Because at the later stage the requirement is delta, okay, or the connection is delta, the stator is connected in generally delta form. Okay, so generally you remember the stator of squirrel cage induction motor is connected in delta, and stator of slip ring induction motor can be connected in star. It is connected in star because it can be started with rotor resistance or stator resistance starter. Okay, so resistance starters are used for generally with respect to slip ring induction motors, though we can connect the stator of slip ring motor in star, or it can be connected also in delta. There is no compulsion, but whereas generally for cage motor we use delta connections. Okay, why delta connections? Because the phase current will be root 3 times larger than the line currents in delta. In star, line and phase currents are same. Line and phase currents are same. The starting torque of squirrel cage induction motor is less generally. Okay, the starting torque of squirrel cage induction motor is less generally. So to get the sufficient amount of torque, okay, the torque of, because torque is proportional to the rotor resistance, and the rotor is consisting of large thick copper bars. The resistance is less, A is more, R is less. Therefore, to get larger phase currents, okay, and because the induction motors, squirrel cage induction motors are generally used for the heavy load applications, obviously the torque requirement of the motor is also more, hence the phase current can be root 3 times larger than the line current with respect to star connection. Only for this reason we go for delta connected rotor stator winding. Okay, rotor no doubt, it is a completely brazed cage form structure, so there is no question of stator or rotor connection in star or delta connection in the rotor. Okay, so this is about the circuit orientation and the connections of the induction motor. So now once the motor is started at no load, then slowly we are increasing the load, because the load is increased by rotating the wheels connected to the brake drum arrangement and spring balance arrangement. Okay, so as I rotate the wheels, here, okay, as I rotate the wheels, okay, the tension built on the brake drum goes on increasing. That will act like mechanical load on the rotor, because as I'm increasing the tightness, as I'm rotating the wheel, so that the tension on the belt goes on increasing, then there will be a large amount of friction on the brake drum. So that large amount of friction on the brake drum itself will act like the load. That is the mechanical load arrangement. Okay, and this is the direct loading method, where the physical condition of the motor at load condition can be very easily studied. Okay, so this is one of the greatest advantage of this type of test that all the values obtained are real-time values, are accurate values as per the operating condition of that motor at that point of time. Okay, so here I go on increasing the load by tightening the wheels, by increasing the tension on the belts, which will increase the mechanical friction or the load on the pulley, which will act like a load. With this, what happens? The speed goes on decreasing. Okay, various things we will observe. So I can increase the load only up to a point where the current drawn by the source is the rated value. I cannot increase to infinite load. I cannot. See, if you go on increasing, at one point of time the rotor stops rotating. Just now what I explained, if the applied voltage is full value and the rotor is blocked, it is a short circuit condition. In no time the motor will burn. So always you should keep it in mind that whenever I increase the load on any machine, whether it is motor, generator, transformer, anything, the current should not cross its rated value. Okay, so in this case, in our lab, in our motor, it is 4.8 amps. Okay, it is 4.8 amps. So this 4.8 amps should not be increased. What is the no load current? I explained in last class. The no load current of DC motor is very less. It came up to 2.2 to 2.5 amperes, where the full load current was 13.3 amperes. Okay, so we'll move to the tabular column, then I will show you. Okay. Yeah. So here, once I start the motor at no load, I go on increasing the load in steps such that I cannot increase the load beyond the rated current, and I start noting down all the values of the meters at each step. Okay, so here now I go on observing what are the readings what I get. See, please don't think that I will be here giving you some set of readings and we will go for the calculation. Okay, this is actually a very good time for me to explain the entirety of an experiment rather than simply explaining you how to get the values. That what I will do, we have to now record the experiments regularly in the lab. By tomorrow and day after tomorrow, in this week, we will be going to college and I will be recording the live experiments conduction, and I will forward you those videos where there will be only the steps how I conduct the experiment. Theoretical explanation I will be giving like this. Okay, so now we will see more of theoretical and analytical part rather than taking the values and doing the calculations. That you are very much comfortable with. Already you have done. If you have not done for 3-phase, at least you have done for DC motor. If you have not done for 3-phase, at least you have done for single phase. Okay, so one or the other calculations of this sort you have done. So I will not concentrate much on giving you the values and doing the calculations, that you are well off. I will tell how the variation in values will give you the information about the motor. Okay, so that is important. Understanding the values is today it is a big science, data science. What is data science? Data is available everywhere because everywhere there are sensors. Today everywhere there are sensors. So there is billions and trillions of data sequences are available. But what data gives you what information is important. So once you get the readings, what do those readings mean? That is extremely important. Okay. So now we will start taking the readings. I will take the tabulation, only those tabulation which I note the readings. Okay. So serial number. Momentarily I will drop this. Serial number, voltage, line current, W1, W2, W is equals to W1 plus W2, F1, F2, F is equals to F1 difference F2 and speed. This is what I note. Okay, other things I calculate using the formula. Okay, so serial number 1, voltage is, let us assume 450 volts. Now what will be the IL? What mistake generally students will do is, we don't think while taking the readings. We will be hurrying in. Sometimes it will be the mistake from faculty also, that we will be also in hurry because of the rush in the lab, number of batches, groups. We have to give readings for so many groups. Okay, but generally you, at least when taking the readings, if you cannot observe the variation in the readings, at least during calculations, sit quiet for at least for 5 minutes and observe the readings, how the readings are obtained. Okay, the way how the readings are obtained will tell you how the machine is operating. See, you need not to worry what is the nature of graph only after plotting the graph. Just if you observe the readings, you will get to know what is the nature of graph. Okay, so IL, I will keep it blank as of now. W1, I will keep it blank. Okay, this is at no load. Okay, this I will keep it blank. This I will keep it blank. 0, 0. This will be obviously 0. Let us take this as 1480. Let us take percentage slip also. Okay, let us take percentage slip. At no load, the motor is running. Okay, now the motor is a 50 hertz. You can calculate the synchronous speed. We know that operating voltage is at 50 hertz. Sorry, I will take this big screen. (50 Hz). Speed is, rated speed is 1500 RPM. Okay. Let us consider 1500 RPM as synchronous speed. What is slip? It will not be 1480, it will be around 1490 or so at no load. Slip is 1500 minus 1490 divided by 1500. Okay. It will be percentage slip is equals to, I don't have calci here. It is around 0.6%. Okay, somewhere around 0.6%. Okay, so the slip at no load will be very less. It is 0.6%. And when you observe the reading of IL in Swinburne's test in the last session of the lab, the current rating of the motor was 13.3 amperes. The no load current obtained was not more than 2 or 2.5 amperes. It was 2.5 amperes we considered. Actually, even in regular conduction, you will get 2.5 amperes only. Okay, not more than that. Okay, and in the previous semester, if you remember, okay, I hope you remember. Okay, so in the previous semester, if you remember, the no load current of the transformer was 0.5 amperes or 0.6 amperes for the full load current of 8.6 amperes. For a 2 kVA transformer, if you remember in open and short circuit test of the transformers, the full load current was 8.6 amperes, 2 kVA transformer, and the no load current was 0.5 or 0.6 amperes. Whereas the no load current of induction motor, okay, will be around 3.5 amperes. Around 3.2 to 3.5 or 6 amperes you will get practically. If you, some of the batches or groups who have done this experiment, if you remember, it's good. Okay, it will be around 3.5 amperes. See, what is the value of current? 3.5 by 4.8. What is the percentage? You see, it is 73%. The no load current is 73% of full load value. Does it mean the motor is at 73% of full load condition? In the last class of the lab session, I told, for a motor, value of line current will not decide the load condition of the motor. It is the amount of output delivered to the load decides the load condition of the motor. The amount of output delivered to the load is 0. Why? See, F1, F2 are 0. So, my torque will be 0. Torque is what? F into R into 9.81. This is 0 now. Therefore, P out, which is equals to 2 pi nt by 60. It is 0 because T is 0. P out is 0. When output is 0, but still load current drawn or the line current drawn is 73% of its full load value. Why this is so? Because of large amount of frictional and windage losses in the motor. Okay, I told you what is friction and windage loss. I think I covered friction and windage loss last time in the lab. One of you please confirm. I told, I think 3 types of losses will be there. Conduction losses, magnetic losses and mechanical losses. Yeah. Okay. So, there will be large amount of mechanical losses in induction motor. Why? Because the rotor of induction motor is very heavy. It has to deliver large loads. When it has to deliver large loads, it has to be made mechanically very rigid, very robust. Because of its mechanical robustness, the weight, the material that I use into it should be very much more. Therefore, the frictional losses incurred in the rotor or in the motor are very large. So this excess amount of current drawn at no load, large amount of current drawn at no load is to satisfy large amount of frictional losses. This is the reason why the no load current of induction motor is more than 50% of its full load current. And that doesn't mean the motor is loaded at that percentage of load condition. Here it is 73%, 72.9 something I get. Okay, 72.916. It doesn't mean that motor is loaded with 73% of its full load value, because output is 0. My output is 0. Okay, so this is one understanding. Okay, one understanding what we should get it, or the inference what you should get it from the no load current. Okay, may not be in the regular lab. This in detail don't know whether, if I take, usually I explain this experiment. If somebody else take, I don't know how it is been explained. But this one observation you should keep whenever you conduct the no load readings on the motor. This is one point. Second point, coming to second point. Okay, when I come to second point, if you observe the wattmeter readings, one may read some 200 watts. You will not be able to read the second wattmeter. Why? Because one of the two wattmeters will kick back. It will try to show the readings below 0. Oh, why is that? What is the reason for that kind of behavior of the wattmeter? You should go back to third semester's measurement class and second semester's 2 wattmeter method class. that there is a effect of power factor of the load on the wattmeters when I use 2 wattmeter method of measuring the 3-phase power. Okay, so the readings of the wattmeter depends on the power factor of the load. Now what is the power factor of the load? For these wattmeters, the load is induction motor, because induction motor is driving the current from the source, and these wattmeters are measuring that power which is drawn from the source by this motor. Loads are different at various stages. For the motor, pulley is the load. For the supply, motor is the load. Okay, so here what happens? Now wattmeter will behave depending upon the power factor of this induction motor. Now what is the power factor of this induction motor? How it varies? For that you should understand the no load and load operation of induction motor. Okay, should I take it briefly or should I take it a little bit in detail? One of you please. I hope you people are present. Yeah, 3 responses I got, 1 briefly, 2 detail. So majority wins. Okay. Okay. I will take in detail with brief explanation. Okay. So I will mix both the responses. Understanding is very much important, because next time I have to teach you design. I need all these things. I am little bit selfish in this case. I will tell you the procedure, then I will go to that explanation why one of the wattmeter shows negative. Okay, so one of the wattmeter will show, it will try to kick back. What I do there, I will either reverse the current coil or I will either reverse the potential coil. Okay, the connection of current coil or potential coil, I will reverse it. Then the wattmeter starts showing the readings in positive scale, and those readings what I get after reversal of potential coil or current coil, I take it as negative. So let me take this as say minus say 110 watts. Okay, so therefore what is W1 plus W2? 200 plus of minus 110, I will get it as 90 watts. Okay, so the power drawn at no load is 90 watts, even when the output is 0. Then I go on increasing the weight on the pulley. I go on increasing the wheel. The tension on the pulley increases. Then current drawn will also increase. Let us take the second reading as, let us assume the voltage is 415. I will get it as 3.8 amperes. There will be slight increase. Let us take 250 watts. Let us take this as 0. Second value I will take, let it be 0. You can manage to get between these two 0 and minus values also. Okay, I will explain you the 3 conditions. Now it will be 250 watts. F1 will say some 1.5 kg. F2 will show some 3 kg. It will be 1.5 kg. Some speed. Now speed will drop. For induction motor, it is not a constant speed motor. As the load increases, speed decreases. Okay, the speed will go on decreasing. Now let us take this speed has come down to 1470 rpm. Accordingly, the slip will also change. Those calculations we can do. Because there is F1 minus F2 is not 0, I will get some value of torque. Because torque is not 0, I will get some value of P out. Now I can conveniently calculate efficiency. P out by Pin. Pin is what? Either I can W1 plus W2 directly. W1 plus W2 is my Pn. We need not to worry much there. This is one case. Now, third case, again I will increase the load. I will rotate the wheel. Tension on the belt is still more increased, which will put more load on the pulley. motor will be loaded much somewhat higher. Then again this wattmeter W2 starts kicking back, because it was in a negative value, now it is crossing 0 and going to positive value. When it does happen like this, again I have to reverse W1 and W2. Sorry, current coil or potential coil. I have to reverse either current coil or potential coil. Whichever you have reversed here, you reverse the same thing. The other thing also will work. There is no more. Please remember one thing. When you are taking three-phase induction motor readings, at no load, one of the wattmeter should show negative. Else your readings are wrong. If you get both W1 and W2 positive, which had happened with some of the groups, one or two groups have done this mistake in this sem only. Though I don't remember who were they, you can check there. At that time what happened? Okay, at that time efficiency was increasing like anything. Okay, sometimes efficiency will go on increasing, because what happened, at no load both were positive, it reached 0 at midway. After that it was started showing negative, then you reversed it and you took it as negative. So all these values came very less. My P out was increasing, P in was decreasing, efficiency was around 200-300% you got. This is what I told. You should be knowing the concept of the experiment conduction rather than only the procedure. Okay, because if you show these calculations in exam, if I am the examiner, I will not tell where the things have gone wrong. I will simply smile at you and accept the paper and I will evaluate. And this will be done by every examiner, not only me. Don't think that I am too hard-hearted fellow. Every examiner will do the same thing, because it indicates you don't know how to take the readings. Okay, so while taking the readings, especially in this semester, you should be careful. Okay, now once it showed negative, you reversed the current coil or potential coil, you took reading, suppose it showed 0, okay, or another one or two readings between -110 and 0, but at one point it will show 0 again. Now after that again you have to reverse that coil, it will again show positive, those will be positive values. Now the third case of the readings will be, it will be 415, it will be around say 4.1 amps somewhere, it will be say 350, not exactly, I am just assuming, because I know as output increases, input increases. With that concept I am increasing. Now this will be say around 150, now 350, 150, it will be 500, okay, it will be now say 3.2 kg, one will remain usually constant. I will take this as 1.5 kg only. This will go up to say 4.8 kg somewhere. So this will be difference of these two is 3.3 kg, some around 1455 rpm. Then accordingly the things will change. Okay, you can calculate using the formula. Okay, so what are the formula? I have written already. All the formula required I have written there only in the, those are the calculation part. Now I have to study three cases. Why it shows negative, why it shows 0, why it shows positive after some time. Okay, that is purely because of the power factor of the motor. Okay, that is purely because of power factor of the motor. Now how the effect of power factor of the motor is there on the wattmeter readings. So in 2 wattmeter method, okay, in a 2 wattmeter method, I will rub this part of the circuit. Okay, now it is not necessary for me. In 2 wattmeter method, cos phi is equals to, I think at that corner there is some shine, you won't see that conveniently. I'll drop this part also because F1, F2 will go on increasing as I go on increasing the load. I need only this part. Okay. So cos phi is equals to cos of tan inverse of root 3 W1 minus W2 W1 plus W2. This is the equation of power factor in 2 wattmeter method. Okay, equation of power factor in 2 wattmeter method. I will not go in detail in derivation what happens when power factor is so and so. I will directly mention the values and I will see how the power factor of induction motor varies. I will tell. Okay, because we are interested in induction motor rather than wattmeters. Wattmeters already have studied. Now, for cos phi is equals to 0. For cos phi is equals to 0, 1 wattmeter reads negative and other positive. Okay, but readings are equal. If one wattmeter is showing minus 100 watts and other wattmeter is showing plus 100 watts, it means the power factor will be 0. Why it will be 0? W1 minus W2. W1 is 100, W2 is minus 100. So 100 by 100, 1. Tan inverse of root 3. Okay. It will go as, sorry, here W1 minus W2 will be infinity. Okay. W1 minus W2, suppose it is 100 minus of minus 100, it is 200 by 100 minus 100. 200 by 100 minus 100. It will be 1 by 0. Tan inverse of infinity is 90, cos 90 is 0. Okay. So when power factor is 0, one of the there is a derivation. Okay, you please refer back the measurements textbook of third sem. You will get that derivation intact. One of the wattmeter reads negative and other positive, but readings of both wattmeters will be exactly equal. This happens only when power factor is exactly 0. But power factor cannot be 0 practically. There will be some value of resistance present in the stator winding. Therefore, however highly inductive the winding may be, the winding will not be pure inductive. You should keep it in mind. However highly inductive the winding may be, the winding will not be pure inductive. Therefore, power factor will not be 0. Power factor will be 0 only in pure inductive case. It will be less than 0. This is one case. Second case, for power factor cos phi is equals to 1. 1 is 0, 1 is 1. Okay. So here both wattmeter read positive and equal. When power factor is exactly 1, both wattmeter read positive and exactly equal. When power factor is 0, both wattmeter read exactly equal but one negative. But both these cases will never exist in induction motor. Neither the winding is purely resistive nor the winding is purely inductive. Always my power factor of induction motor will be between 0 and 1. Not 0, not 1. So these two cases will never occur for me. Now what happens between 0 and 1? There is one more. Exactly midway what will happen if power factor is 0.5? If power factor is 0.5, 1 wattmeter reads 0 and other positive. And other positive. The wattmeter which read negative, the same wattmeter will read 0 because it has to travel from low power factor range to high power factor range. So the wattmeter readings will start from negative value towards 0 towards positive values. So the power factor which read negative when power factor was, the wattmeter which read negative when power factor was 0, the same wattmeter will read 0 when power factor is 0.5. Simply you can get to know, put cos phi equal to 0.5 here, you do the back calculations, you will get to know. Okay, that is a derivation. That is how you will understand. Now what is between 0 and 0.5 and 0.5 and 1? Okay, now if cos phi is equals to greater than 0 less than 0.5. If cos phi is greater than 0 less than 0.5, 1 wattmeter read negative. Obviously other reads positive. Okay, so that is what happening here. Now at no load the power factor is greater than 0 but less than 0.5. So that is called low power factor range. That is called low power factor range. Okay, so if I have to operate the motor always at no load and take the readings, I use LPF wattmeter. That is the reason why in the previous semester in no load test of transformer we used LPF wattmeter and in full load test we use UPF wattmeter. Because at no load both transformer and induction motor will be at low power factor range. Okay, so that is the reason why I chose to use low power factor wattmeter at no load condition. Now what is the condition when power factor is greater than 0.5 and less than 1? Both read positive. That is what happening after 0. So here power factor is less than 0.5. Here in the second reading it is exactly 0.5. Here after second reading from third reading onwards it will be greater than 0.5. If you want you can calculate. Okay, now not with these readings, because these are very arbitrary readings. Okay, very arbitrary readings. Anybody who have conducted this experiment, if you have got one of the wattmeter reading 0, for that reading cos phi should be exactly 0.5, else your calculations are wrong. Simple. This is how you have to cross check the correctness of your calculations. If you know the concepts, you will never go wrong in calculations. Okay, and also there is a small trick. If you know the concepts, you can trick in the readings also. Okay, sometimes you may not get exact readings in the exam, you can trick. Okay, that is a secret which I should not tell in online classes actually like this, because it will be telecasted in YouTube, but still. Okay, so that is, I will twist my hands for that. Okay. Okay, this is one case. Now I got to know that what is the effect of load power factor or induction motor power factor on the wattmeters. Now I will tell you why the power factor of induction motor is less at no load and it goes on increasing as the load increases. Okay, that is the part of interest. Now I will finish the experiment part of this. Okay, so when I conduct, I will go back to presentation. Give me 5 minutes. We'll go back to that point again. Now with this tabulation, we calculate the things, and after doing all these calculations, those parts I will not worry, that you are very good in doing those things. coming to this graph. So this is the graph what I get. Okay, when I plot the graph, these are the plots what I get. You can observe the efficiency varies, okay, to certain extent. The efficiency goes on increasing. This is you can take IL, okay, you can take P out, you can take P out in BHP, you can take IL, whatever, okay. This is load, that's it. It will slowly increase. Initially it will be linear, it will take a curve, afterwards it will decrease, okay. So this is maximum efficiency. Maximum efficiency of any machine always occur at load factor less than 1, okay, because maximum efficiency will occur not at full load, before full load. What is the condition for maximum efficiency for induction motor? Anybody? Yes, it is a live class, you can. Condition for maximum efficiency of an induction motor. Yeah, anybody please. Yeah, I thinking I will ask, some people are leaving the meet. Huh? I will not take anybody's name, don't worry. Yeah. What is the condition for maximum efficiency of transformer? Guys, please, it is recording. You people will be heard in YouTube. Am I audible? At least you answer this. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Then answer please. What is the condition for maximum efficiency of transformer? Anybody? It is a question of repetition of BMS IT, man. Is my voice clear? Few are texting that the voice is not clear. Now it is clear? Am I audible now? Yeah. So what is the condition for maximum efficiency of transformer? Now audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Condition for maximum efficiency? Yeah, somebody texted Shubham. Iron losses equal to copper losses. Somebody is texting copper losses equal to iron losses. Which is correct? Few texted copper losses equal to iron losses. Few texted iron losses equal to copper losses. Which is correct? First. Yeah, I will give you a small question. You please answer this. Which is correct? X equal to 2 or 2 equal to X?
Both.
Okay. Physically, which is correct? X equal to 2 or 2 equal to X? One of you, please. Yeah, I am getting so many texts.
X equal to 2, sir.
X equal to 2 is correct. Why not 2 equal to X is correct?
Because X is variable, 2 is a constant value, sir.
Exactly. X is a variable and 2 is a constant. Any variable can take a constant value, but not a constant value take any variable value. How can 2 can be X? 2 is 2. Is it? Now tell me whether the condition for maximum efficiency is iron loss equal to copper loss or copper loss equal to iron loss.
Copper, iron loss equal to iron loss.
Yes?
Copper loss equals iron loss, sir.
Copper loss equals to iron loss. Yes. Okay. The condition for maximum efficiency is copper loss becoming equal to iron loss or core loss. See, copper loss at no load is 0, is it? For a transformer, copper loss at no load is, we'll come back to induction motor. For a transformer, copper loss at no load is 0. As the load increases, copper loss increases because secondary current goes on increasing. Yes? So it is copper loss which is variable with respect to load. So copper loss can take a value of iron loss because iron loss will remain constant throughout the operation of the transformer. Okay? Hence, copper loss is equal to, in many books, while the derivation is done, it comes out to be iron loss equal to copper loss and it is kept like that only, because of which you people will be reading it like that only and keeping in mind iron loss becoming equal to copper loss. Iron loss will not become equal to copper loss. Those are copper losses will become equal to iron loss at one point. Okay? At that point, the maximum efficiency occurs. The same condition is there for induction motor also. When copper loss of induction motor becomes equal to iron loss of the induction motor, the maximum efficiency of induction motor occurs. And that occur at not full load, at the load condition lesser than the full load. Okay, so this is one curve. The second curve what we are observing is percentage slip. Okay, so you can call slip, torque. Okay, and one more curve is, I think, efficiency. Efficiency is the slip and torque and P out. Okay, power factor, which is important. Okay, I want to discuss this. So as load increases, okay, or P out increases, okay, my speed is decreasing, therefore slip is increasing. So it increases. This is slip. And as the output is increasing, torque is also increasing because torque is equals to 2 pi n Fr into 9.81. I am increasing F, therefore T increases. Okay, so torque will also increase as the load increases. Okay, and as the load increases, power factor will also increase. That is, we will see how it will be. Okay, so as the load increases, it don't worry about the position of slip curve and torque curve. Okay, that depends upon the scale I selected here. So these are the characteristics I get out of this experiment. Okay, so this is the experiment conduction of load test on 3-phase induction motor. Okay, I will take another 15 to 20 minutes and I will explain how exactly power factor increases with respect to the load of an induction motor.